Minister Howai to address us at this time. Mr. Minister, welcome.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Valley, for that very elaborate introduction. I'd like to begin by recognizing my colleague, Minister Basant Bharat, who is the Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment, but who has also kindly agreed to serve as a minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economy. I would like to recognize, of course, Dr. Clinton Valley, Dr. Ramela, Chair and Professor at the School of Business, my good friend, Mr. Suresh Sukum. We went to school together. I always tell everyone, but he was brighter than I was, which is why probably I'm here and he's there. But, you know, I'd certainly like to recognize him and for his contribution that he has made to the banking sector in Trinidad and Tobago. Especially invited guests, students of the university, ladies and gentlemen. What I've significantly shortened my speech this morning, given the fact that Minister Bharat is also speaking, and in order to avoid repetition and some duplication that could potentially occur, given the fact that our portfolios overlap. For example, I know there are areas, for example, in some of the initiatives being taken to speed and ease the ease of business, doing business in Trinidad and Tobago. And some of the changes which he has made, he has a very entrepreneurial bent in terms of his approach to things. And he's made a number of changes for the better in order to speed the ease of doing business in Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm sure that is an area that is one of the areas I'm sure that he would mention while entering his speech. I want to thank the University of the Southern Caribbean for inviting me here this morning, and to say that I particularly recognize that this university does something that I'm particularly proud of, and that is that it focuses on values-based education. And I want to, I made the point that actually at a university you need to come out with basically two things. The first is values, and the focus on values-based education is an important and critical part of that. And those of us who did not know it before certainly recognize it following the financial meltdown that occurred in 2008 in the global financial sector, which quickly spread into the real sector of the economy, resulting in significant downturns in economies right across the world. No one has been spared. And a big part of it had been the absence of that values-based grounding, which I want to emphasize. There can be no growth, no development, no foreign direct investment unless it is grounded in that values-based leadership that is required everywhere. The second characteristic which I think is required is an inquiring mind. Information is rapidly becoming more and more available. Information surrounds us. Information is being created at an exponential rate, much faster than at any previous time in human history. And it is easily available via the numerous electronic media that are available around us. So acquiring information is relatively easy. What is not as easy is bringing insight to the information and data that is around us. Looking at it from all the different angles that one can possibly envisage, and bringing new perspectives to that information so that better solutions can be arrived at for the problems which confront the global environment, not just us here in Trinidad and Tobago. I would also like to say one other thing, and perhaps I should have started with this. When Dr. Valley started his introduction, he made mention of his brother Ken. And I would like to pay public tribute to Ken for the contribution that he made to Trinidad and Tobago. And one of the things that impressed me most about Ken, because I knew him for a very, very long time, is the fact that his leadership was also grounded in values. And the values that I knew Ken stood for were the values that I know he imparted to his children and everyone else around him. And in that way, Ken lives on for many of us here in Trinidad and Tobago. The theme of the seminar this morning, the strategic intervention and the significance of domestic and foreign direct investment for the growth and development of the economy, is exactly the right theme given the slowdown that has been experienced locally as well as in the global economy. Economists have long debated the effects of foreign direct investment on economic growth and development of a country. FDI, or foreign direct investment, plays a positive role in economic growth and development through inter-area technology infusion, human capital development, the reduction of capital shortages, and the enhancing of entrepreneurship and introduction of new management methodologies into the economy. Of course, as with everything else, there are others who have a different perspective. And the opponents of FDI has pointed to the negative impact it can have as it potentially can crowd out domestic investment over time. And it may disrupt backward linkages through the substitution of imports for domestic commodities. The arguments put forward by the proponents, or by the proponents of foreign direct investment, in my humble view, far outweigh the arguments by its opponents. However, I will not go into further details on this, as I am sure that today's discussions would expound on these benefits of foreign direct and domestic investments further. What I would say is that Trinidad and Tobago remains one of the most attractive destinations for investment in the region. The FDI Intelligence Magazine 2011-12 ranks Trinidad and Tobago as second in Central America and the Caribbean in terms of cost effectiveness, the third most attractive country in the region for foreign investment, fifth in Central America and the Caribbean for best economic potential, seventh in best for quality of life, seventh in best FDI strategy. It is not surprising, therefore, that foreign direct investment averaged 1.1 billion US per annum over the period 2007 to 2011. I should say that we have seen a significant or marked reduction in FDI flows following the global financial crisis of 2008. But nevertheless, foreign direct investment to Trinidad and Tobago still continued to be relatively good. Notwithstanding this, the Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment has established that improvement in these rankings is a major objective of the ministry in the coming years. The reason for this is simple. Local and foreign direct investments are major drivers of our economy. Many of you will be aware that after 4 years of negative change in real GDP, we are projecting that 2012 will be a watershed year in the turning around of this slowdown. Our projection is for a relatively robust uptick in growth of 2.5% in 2013. This is predicated on an expansionary budget, which projects a deficit of 7.6 billion and a PSIP of approximately the same amount, 7.5 billion. In addition, it is predicated on private sector investment inflows in the energy sector of over $3 billion US this year. this year meaning 2012-13. The total of local and international private sector investment is therefore projected at 18% of GDP. To mitigate the effect on our fiscal position, while seeking to capitalize on the appetite for further investment, government is currently building consensus within the private and public sector for the public-private partnership model for infrastructure development and service delivery. We recognize that this model affords us the opportunity for capacity building at government and private sector levels, development of the domestic capital markets, cost savings and value for money, risk sharing between the public and private sectors, improved levels of service through performance criteria, and robust monitoring to ensure compliance and more efficient project implementation. We recognize, though, that there are many risks associated with the PPP model, and therefore it is important to build a consensus among our stakeholders. We must establish an enabling environment, particularly in the area of procurement legislation, which is currently a major agenda item for this government. We are all quite aware that Trinidad and Tobago's economy is energy-driven. The energy sector contributes approximately 40% of our gross domestic product, 60% of government tax revenues, and 80% of foreign exchange earnings. Foreign direct investment has been used extensively by Trinidad and Tobago in the development and expansion of this sector. FDI has played a significant role in the development of the oil and, in more recent times, relatively speaking, the gas sectors in Trinidad and Tobago through companies such as Amoco, now BP, in the area of exploration, oil exploration, and Texaco, which formerly owned and operated the oil refinery at Point Pierre. I am sure that we have all been elated by the news released by BPTT last week of the discovery of an estimated 1 trillion cubic feet of gas offshore Trinidad, the largest discovery since 2005. This, ladies and gentlemen, clearly demonstrates the significance of investment, both domestic and foreign. The level of investment such as this, which has borne fruit, also demonstrates a confidence that investors have in the economic policies of the government. The impact of FDI in the petrochemical sector is particularly evident at the Point Lisas industrial estate, where significant foreign investment was injected in the development of those facilities. The Point Lisas industrial estate had its genesis in a group of businessmen in South Trinidad in the 1950s who promoted the idea of an industrial estate dedicated to heavy industry and linked to a deep water harbor. The South Trinidad Chamber of Industry and Commerce evolved from this group, now known as the Energy Chamber. Now, the Point Lisas industrial estate is home to companies producing methanol, fertilizers such as urea, ammonia, iron, as well as iron and steel, and liquefied natural gas further to the south. Today, Trinidad and Tobago is a leading exporter in the world of methanol and ammonia, and the largest exporter of liquefied natural gas in the Western Hemisphere. Both domestic and foreign direct investment facilitated strategic public sector interventions in infrastructure, such as the aforementioned Point Lisas industrial estate, as well as in electricity generation, transportation linkages, such as deep water harbors, as well as expansion of the supply of water for both the domestic and industrial sectors. To facilitate the expansion of the sectors of the economy that would benefit from FDI, government began building effective working relationships with multinational corporations. Successive governments ensured that contractual obligations were honored, and there was flexibility in discussions with multinational corporations. Further, there has been predictability and transparency in the interactions of governments with all of these multinational corporations. Successive governments has also sought to partner with the players in the petrochemical industry to anticipate and meet the need for a skilled labor force. As I had indicated at the start, human capital development is one outflow from the development of investment flows. So, for example, in 1995, the Metals Industry Company Limited, MIC, which produces craftsmen certified by the German Chamber of Crafts, was established. And in 1998, following the establishment of the National Energy Skills Center, NESC, 10 centers were built throughout the country, producing craftsmen for plant construction and process plant operation and maintenance. Today, the government has established a target of achieving a 60% participation at the tertiary level for graduates coming out from our secondary schools. And our government-assisted tuition education program is geared to achieve that objective. An important benefit for Trinidad and Tobago also was the lessons learned from the experience of the energy sector in competing in the international arena. From the knowledge gained from the energy sector, Trinidad and Tobago has been able to capitalize on its competitive advantage in low-cost gas to successfully compete in other areas, such as in plant construction, production and marketing through innovation, partnerships and efficiency, as well as even the expansion of our financial sector. The strategic interventions over the years has ensured that as the energy sector expands, Trinidad and Tobago nationals can provide specific skills in a range of industries, including skills in construction, maintenance, high-pressure welding, drilling, project management, and instrumentation that are demanded by the energy sector. The rule of thumb for workers in the energy sector is strict adherence to occupational health and safety rules, teamwork, attainment of production targets in 24-hour operating facilities, high levels of productivity, and exceptionally high-quality craftsmanship. This has redounded to the benefit of our entire economy as the standards for all aspects of labor have improved dramatically as a result of these interventions over the years. Our domestic local investors have also played a very significant role in achieving the growth that we see today. And as the government of Trinidad and Tobago moves forward, our emphasis on the public-private partnerships seeks, first of all, to give our local private sector the opportunity to partner with government as we seek to achieve the level of competitiveness and innovation that will continue to make us global leaders in many niche areas of investment in the coming years. We, the government, have every expectation that we will be able, in Trinidad and Tobago, to build an economy that is globally competitive, that can innovate, and that can add value at all levels, not only just to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, but also to the global economy. In closing, I first want to wish each and every one of you a very Merry Christmas, all God's blessings, and a very bright and prosperous 2013. May your planned endeavors for 2013 be successful. I also wish you a seminar filled with lively discourse, intellectually stimulating, and abounding with practical solutions. I thank you.
We want to thank the Honourable Larry Howai, the Minister of Finance, for giving us very interesting insights and the benefits that Trinidad and Tobago is reaping through foreign direct investment. At this moment, I'll request Dr. Clinton Valley to come forward to present a token of love to Honourable Minister Larry Howai.